Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 26th, and we get back to current time here for my little break as we get ready for obviously Thanksgiving right around the corner here, and that will be a soft break for everyone. But it was a good turnaround from a increasing short situation. Bull stepped up in a strong way. We got the crossover of Cyan green over Cyan, and the shakeout almost at positive. We'll see if it works out today. It pushed earlier above and then sort of faded back from the earlier spike. But it was a strong turnaround over the 50%. It should maintain itself. Yes, it's going to get excessive here with the magenta being well over this 40 range, but yeah, that's okay because it can still come back and down. Where we're going to be watching will be the MBI white there. A pivot lower on that would be your indication that bulls have it in hand. Don't necessarily think that's true. I think we're in what I call holiday session where you're just looking for weakness from any one side at this particular stage until everyone comes back after Thanksgiving, and then you start whether there's going to be that Christmas rally. And the numbers came out, and as we were talking about just yesterday, I was briefly mentioning the numbers would start coming out from the government on deficits and everything else, and we can see that there were massive spending that took place right after the budget approval, and so your efforts for Doge or whatever are non-existent because the interest payments are staggering. Yes, the receipts are increased, but not anywhere near what's going to be sufficient. And that's just going to continue to erode the possibilities, which is why Trump's pushing so hard for the peace situation, because he really needs oil prices down. And without that, nothing's going to improve. Nasdaq's still more muted because I think that there's still a lot of debate going on about this whole AI inflation trade that's taken place and how much real impact it's going to have for earnings in a lot of those companies as things reach a point where you can't move forward if you don't have more power. And that really becomes the primary stumbling point. And as much as they talk about all the things they want to do, still, you're going to have to create an awful lot of either natural gas or some other versions to be able to get there. From a Treasury standpoint, the Fed still not existent. Doesn't look like they're going to do much. We won't know for a couple more weeks, but still. Oil, there it is. Still hasn't broken below the lows. I mean, that's ultimately what has to happen. Now, if they think that there's going to be a deal, and the deal with Russia and that involves removal of some sanctions, that will have a strong move for oil at that particular point. So there's a lot of people who don't want that to take place because then all that extra capacity can come into the market and you won't have a continued decline with sabotage, things like that. And, that's clarity. And clarity always moves things. So, from the euro standpoint, no change here. They still love the euro. That the eurozone is fighting the peace deal tooth and nail because what's their alternative? I mean, you start to look at the details that come out of Germany and some of these other places, and it's horrible. I mean, the deficits for every zone in Germany are through the roof now, and it's only going to get worse. They can't maintain the social state they've got, so you're going to have to divert somewhere. War footings are always the best way to do that. From a gold standpoint, yeah, it's going to continue to rise now that they see that the deficits are just going to get out of control completely. The interesting thing is, as we talked about before, Bitcoin and them failing and continuing its move lower. You've got to turn around finally with the magenta over, but look at this. You're already reaching your peak there. You haven't even reached the 23%. That doesn't bode well. And you look at that shakeout, it's not improved at all. So when orange and the DOC here is caught between cyan and red, you have continuation. Well, it's continuation of the same. So you can look for it to meander, but still hang around towards that zero, barring some kind of massive increase turnaround here. At least from a DOC standpoint, you're at the minus 20. It's pretty close to where you typically get some type of even what you might call a dead count bounce, but I would call that promising for them. ETH doing better than BTC is, but still not an exciting mode. So from before, when we were talking about how things had faded, we ended up getting the beginning turnaround at the start of the week here, and we had a brief moment of pause in that move as it recalibrated. Didn't break really much below the 76, came down to the 61 for a brief moment, but still closed above, and that led to the next magenta rise above, and from there, it's really been bull run all the way. You've had cyan under red for, well, ever since that started. So right back in there was the cyan under red that triggered that buy configuration. But even when it was back and forth in the weaker part, it was just a brief move where you had the separation here with the cyan and green, and that led to it. And that gave you a full reset of the shakeout, which means that you didn't have to match the histogram coming forward, because now you got a clean slate, and as long as that stayed positive there, so now you're still making higher highs with higher histograms. So that's all congruent with continuation within that. That doesn't mean you're not going to get these little bounces back and forth in between, but cyan under the negative 13.5 is going to be a slight negative, but when it bounces back above it, you'll get your bounce back move from it. So it's worth watching in that from an intraday. And you can see from Tuesday standpoint, it was pretty clean all the way to the upside. And we've had some back and forth here in the European session. Not the Asian session was pretty clean to the upside, but most of the European session has been fairly negative. They're very concerned about this peace deal. They do not want it to happen, and so that would be problematic from their view. So we'll see how it develops. That's your biggest, global conflict at this particular stage. You get that one resolved, and that adds a lot of clarity to things going into the beginning of the year, which, if you're looking down the road, that's kind of what really Trump wants to get, and that will help stabilize things, at least from a market standpoint. It would be definitely a positive. So, as always, anything relevant, I will put it on the team chat. Everyone have a great Thanksgiving. Trade well.